Sounds great.
Hello everyone, my name is Jair, former Latino Leadership Northwest intern, and today I'll be conducting interviews with elected officials to learn more about civic engagement. As I said, I'm Jair, and
Yeah. So my name is Jeff Snell, and I'm not an elected official, but I work for elected officials. I'm the superintendent of Vancouver Public Schools, and so my job is to, on behalf of the elected school board, is to run the school district for them.
nice. So, how would you, well, for first and foremost, when we say youth and like the questions, we mainly mean like high school to like, a little bit after high school
Okay.
age. So how would you explain civic engagement to the youth?
I think my experience and what I've seen students get involved in that I would call civic engagement is anything that's connected to the broader community, and that community could be defined in a lot of different ways. So it might be civic engagement in your school, and so being a part of a leadership team or being a part of a food drive or something like that that feels like fairly close to home. And then I think there's like circles that go out beyond that. So maybe instead of just your school, it's in your school district, and maybe you're mentoring students in younger grades or something. To me, that's civic engagement because you're giving something beyond yourself for the betterment of the community. Sometimes it can be giving your voice, so it might be participating in a survey or an interview. Like I would view this as civic engagement because I'm wanting to share my perspective and experience with people to try to help maybe them benefit from that. I know you're going to interview some other officials, and so thinking as that grows, like maybe it's in your city, or maybe it's in your region or county, and maybe it's in your state, maybe it's in your country, maybe it's across the world. But it can start like in your classroom or with your family or in your neighborhood.
Yeah, when I was doing a bit of research, I was like, this is like kind of perspective wise is how you interpret it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us, could you give us more detailed examples of civic engagement activities?
Well, one thing is like in our district, we have advisory groups of students, and so different ways to get connected. So at our high schools, they have kind of like taco talks or lunch and learns or something where you go and you can have some food, share food with others and share your perspective. So I think that's a great example of looking at your school or your neighborhood and taking advantage of opportunities that are already there. You can also like serve on some of those committees, like so you could be a part of the student advisory. You could be a part of your neighborhood association, Latino Leadership Northwest, right? And so I think looking for those places that one align with your passion and what you're interested in helping, and then trying to take advantage of those opportunities and maybe stretching yourself to like where you're out of your comfort zone a little bit. In a safe way, but like kind of like expanding your vision, I guess, of what community could look like.
Thank you. You kind of talked about this a bit, but like what local boards, commissions, or advisory committees are like available for the youth specifically?
Yeah, so I talked about ones in the school system. I know that in some of the other interviews you're going to have, they're going to talk about wanting student voice or younger citizen voice on like the Parks Commission, or I know like recently there was one with the police department that wanted to have a voice around what should it look like in our community to feel safe. I also think that there's opportunities on like nonprofits, like Latino Leadership Northwest. But let's say that you're interested in animals or something, and so you want to look at the Humane Society or something. And so doing some research around those causes that you believe in, and then trying to find a way that you might help in that. So it might be serving on a board, or it might be showing up for an activity or an event. Sometimes it's great to show up for an event and see what it's all about, and then decide like, is that something I want to be a part of? So like an example too, we have like family community resource centers in our school, and we have a foundation that supports that. So that might be a natural way for somebody to like maybe stop into an FCRC and see if there's ways to help. And I'm guessing that might lead to other opportunities that people could explore.
Yeah, like it's like a big way to like network with people.
For sure, yeah.
What kind of skills would the youth learn if they were to join these local boards, committees, or advisories? Are there any resources you recommend?
Well, Latino Leadership Northwest is amazing with that, because I think it can be intimidating to join a board, or even if you're not used to going to an event, like let's say it's a tree planting event or something, but you've never done that before. So I think one thing is to maybe go in, find a partner, or find a network of people that you are comfortable with, and then maybe stretch yourself from that. And so, hey, we're gonna try this together and see how it works. I think when you join these kinds of opportunities, I would really encourage people to just watch the people that are working. Like, what are they doing? Why do you think they're doing that? Like, what drives them? And what skills are they using to accomplish that? So I always like watching people that are working hard for others, because I think I can learn so much from them. And so at first observing, and then maybe it's, as you feel more comfortable, asking people about, like, how did you get into this? Like, why do you do it, right? What might you do next, right? And then as you hear people talk about that, for me anyway, it helps me start to frame a map for myself and how I might think about service in the future.
Thank you. From your perspective, what's the importance of seeing youth engage in their community? You've kind of already touched on this a little, but would you like to go more in detail?
Sure. Yeah, I'm biased because I'm an educator, right? That's my whole career has been working with youth and students, and so, there's the standard answer of like, well, youth are our future, and getting their voice is really important, and obviously I agree with all that. But I think the other thing that's really important that youth can add is this certain energy and optimism. Like in our district, I go around and interview students all the time, and I just ask them, like this year I'll have a certain question that I might ask them as a theme, and then I try to carry their voices to others. So this year it's like, who has helped you and why? Like, it's been so awesome to just listen to students respond to that. They've given me all different, maybe it's a teacher, maybe it's a mother, maybe it's a friend, grandmother, and for them to just kind of light up and tell me about that person, like, it's such a gift. And I think there becomes this circle of like inspiration and hope when we intentionally reach out to people like youth, or different groups of people that maybe we're not as familiar with, right? When we stretch ourselves, like that diversity of thought and the perspectives, for me anyway, provides such great inspiration. And so not only do you benefit yourself and you offer your voices, but I think you really inspire people too.
Yeah, it goes like both ways.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's a big thing. What advice would you give to the youth in terms of civic engagement? What do you wish you knew when you were like younger?
Well, I talked a little bit, I guess, about some of that advice in terms of watching people, asking questions. I'll maybe focus on the last part of what do you wish when you were younger. And as a parent, I try to parent the way I wish that I would have had maybe an opportunity or been pushed. And so a lot of times it's the getting out of your comfort zone. And so I have 3 kids, and I've always tried to push them to just like, why are you uncomfortable about this, right? Like, what is it what's the worst thing that can happen if you go and engage in this way? And try to work through that in our minds so that they feel comfortable doing that. My father passed away when I was really little, so I didn't really have a father figure, but my mom was amazing, and she would always encourage me, and I want to encourage others to just find that strength that maybe they don't know they have. And as parents, we can see it, or as teachers, we can see it. But as youth, like you haven't had the experience, so it feels very uncomfortable. So if I could go back and tell my younger self, I would probably be I'm not as afraid to make mistakes now as I used to be. I'm not as afraid to come in and get interviewed with somebody when I don't because I'm like, okay, right? But when I was 15 or 16, I would have been terrified to sit down and talk with you, right? afraid I was going to say the wrong thing or something like that. And that's pretty natural, but I wish maybe I would have been braver because I probably missed a lot of opportunities to help people or to learn about people just because I was shy and I didn't even think to ask. And now I'm not as shy, and I've benefited so much from like having a conversation with you, those kinds of things. So that's what I would tell my younger self.
Thank you. Yeah, that like new experiences lead to like growth.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you like available to meet with youth who are interested in civic engagement activities? If so, how could they reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. I love meeting with students and talking with them about, especially about their leadership journey and how they want to affect the world in a positive way. So, if you're a Vancouver School District student, it's really easy to shoot me an email because we have the same back end of our email. So it's just jeff.snell@vansd.org. And then I'm happy to come out and talk with you about your journey and how we can support you in Vancouver Public Schools. And I'm pretty sure that all the school district superintendents, I get to work with them a lot, and your principals and your teachers all would say there's something very similar. So don't hesitate to ask those people in your lives for support and assistance. Not only can it benefit you, but it benefits us, right? It inspires us, makes us feel better about the world. So thank you.